Hi, and welcome to this episode of Our Guest Is, presented by My East Coast Experience Media in partnership with RBC. Our Guest Is introduces us to a resilient group of people typically called immigrants, but perhaps better described as entrepreneurs, community builders, and survivors. In each episode, we'll be hearing all about their journeys to Canada's East Coast in their own words. Today, our guest is Mary Navas. Originally from Honduras, you came to Halifax in 2015 to attend St. Mary's University. And while you were there, you were elected president of the SMU Students Association, where you received a Bachelor of Commerce from SMU. You volunteer with a lot of organizations, Habitat for Humanity, YMCA, and Students Nova Scotia, to name a few. And you're currently an associate with National Public Relations. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I read something very interesting about you online in relation to your career, and that you met someone that you work with at National PR by just shaking her hand and saying, I'm going to work for you one day. I mean, where does that come from? Who are you?
I know. It was a risky move for sure.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to work at National the day I stepped foot inside their office. It's just a beautiful space. If you've been to their office, it's amazing. But the people are so welcoming and so nice that I was doing my market research, looking like, what do I want to do next after SMU? And then step foot at National, and then I saw it was Catherine Tector. Mm-hmm. She was the vice president. And then I was like, I'll be working here after I graduated. And she was like, okay. No, but that came from a lot of work in the past, a lot of resilience and work. And I was like, that's where the confidence comes from sometimes.
Were you born with that confidence?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no. I was bullied, actually, when I was in middle school and elementary, like big time bullied. And then I moved to the United States, Virginia Beach, for a year. And then that's where I was like in a new place, and I built kind of like myself again. And when I came back to my old school, I had a little bit more of confidence, and that's where it all started. And then I played soccer. Sports always help, and became the captain there, and then started building that confidence. But it was a rough patch in the beginning for sure.
What was the experience like being bullied, and how did that help you with your journey to Atlantic Canada?
It was definitely part of my journey, and I wrote an essay when I was in 8th grade about it, and I can't remember what my mom always shows to me, but she always cries when she reads it. But it was, it teaches you, like bullying teaches you, and it builds who you are. Like everything that you go through life builds the person who you are today. And it was definitely, it built my kind of like strength, my charisma, my, like the person I am today, because if it shows you, how to deal with people and how to get negative kind of like backlash, and how to get negative comments sometimes, and how do you have to like sometimes block them and make sure that's not you, and be certain of yourself.
Some resilience, I guess, too, right? And that's definite in moving to a new place. And I mean, you had some experience though if you moved to the States for a year.
Oh yeah.
Did it prepare you for coming to Canada?
100%. I moved to the States in 6th grade, so I was still younger.
Oh, yeah.
Only for a year though, and I didn't know anyone, just like when I came to Canada. And then I was the only Latina in that school, I remember, and it's difficult, but then it's just like, you have to know who you are, and then who your friends are, and then what you want to do, and just kind of set your eyes to that goal. But yeah, resilience is a big part of who I am right now.
It must not be hard for you to make new friends then.
It was in the beginning, but now they're like, hey, you're like friends with everyone. Everyone loves you. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, I love everyone. But it has helped me to identify who my real friends are. Let's put it that way. So
your aunt lives in Calgary currently, and she was sort of the one to make the kind of push to, you should come to Canada, you should study in Canada for university. And reading a little bit about your background and coming here too, your parents came with you to sort of help you settle in. How important is your family support to you?
Oh, it's the most important. Family for me is everything. Like, family comes first no matter what. And it's true. I first applied when I graduated actually high school in 2014. So I took a gap year before coming here because I applied to go to the U.S. actually, to Texas and Florida. Nothing against Texas and Florida, but I knew it was going to be almost the same routine for me. You know, like I have friends going there. It's a very big Latin community. It's very kind of like what you always kind of do and the people you see. So I was like, I want something that's going to, you know, like change me, motivate me, like, or like make me kind of like move and go forward. And my aunt who lived in Calgary, she was like, why don't you try Canada? And I'm like, igloos, penguins, no.
Now.
Well, that's what you know. That's
totally
like when you live in a Latin American country and it's very hot all year round. That's what you think of Canada. And,
I can understand.
Yeah,
that, yes.
And then I was like, I don't know. But then fell in love with Nova Scotia. Actually, I did some search and I was like, I'm not gonna move to Calgary exactly when it's currently minus 30. I think it's cold.
Yeah.
But then I was doing some research and I'm like, Halifax popped in. It was like by the water, you know, the ocean playground, young city, 4 to 5 universities. It's like, this seems cool. And then did some research and then looked at SMU and looked at Dal. At that time, SMU was really well known for and still well known for their Sobe School of Business. So I was like, let me just apply. And then I was like, St. Mary's, Mary, that must be a sign.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's a sign. So, ended up here.
Wow. And so what did your parents think when they came here with you? Were they like, what are you doing?
It was, 100%. They were like, we support you.
Yeah.
But what are you doing? Like, are you sure? My mom actually came. My dad had to stay. He came later afterwards to come and settle and visit me. But when my mom and I came, I remember we arrived late at night. It was dark. It was September. And then we took a cab to the Atlantica Hotel, which is they partner with SMU to get special rates when students are moving in. And it's just in Robie Street. So it's just kind of like same street at SMU. You know, it goes straight up. Nothing open. Only, I remember Little Freeman's was the first restaurant. I came in at 11 p.m. and then we had pizza there and they ID'd me and I'm like, I promise I'm over 19. But yeah, and then it all went uphill from there.
So the real reason why you came to Canada is because the legal drinking age is 19 and not 21 in the States, right?
To be honest, back home it's kind of like very, very younger than that.
Okay.
Yeah. So like back home you start legally at 18.
Okay.
But
illegally at
15.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, you see very young people at bars. And I feel international students know that and feel that.
Yeah.
When we come here and if they're not, it's not much regulation sometimes in other countries.
No judgment. Yeah. When you started your studies at SMU, you had mentioned in a previous interview that you noticed a lack of diversity around the campus. So how were you feeling at that time?
So scared. When I stepped foot at SMU, I was like, it's a small school, which has its benefits, but also like sometimes it's scary because it's sometimes so small, and sometimes small feels very comfort for you. Do you know what I mean? But so when I stepped in, there was a lot of them were just Canadians. You know what I mean? Or maybe not Canadians, but what you describe as a white person. Do you know what I mean? And not much of a diversity in that aspect. So when I walked in, I was like, where are the international students? Like, where are my people at? And I was like, did I make the wrong decision? And I was scared. And I remember my mom telling me, stay, give it a year. And if you still don't like it in a year, doors are always welcome back home. Yeah. And then I stayed and I didn't come back.
You made some friends?
I made some friends. Welcome weeks. I always tell international students, you have to go to those first events, even if it's scary. That's where you meet your first year friends.
Yeah. And you are a bit of a mentor for new students.
Oh, yeah.
International students or just for everyone?
For everyone, I would say, but mostly international students because there's different kind of like discrepancies for international students when they come to a new country, didn't mean, and when they're coming to a new school. Some domestic students that are born and raised in Nova Scotia, they feel more at home. Do you know what I mean? And it's they have different barriers, I would say. Like domestic students, how do we bring them actually to campus and be involved in campus? And international students are more like, how do we like expand them and go meet the community? But it's they do have different barriers. But I learned and talked, and I learned so much from everyone that in my next years at SMU, I was a mentor for a lot of them, and it was just like talk them through the process. You know what I mean? Hear them out and see like where like there's a place for everyone. I mean, and that's where you have to find yourself. You know what I mean? Like not everyone's gonna love X, Y, and Z. Not everyone's gonna love this. So it's just like, where do you fit in this? And come on, Halifax is so diverse. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna find a place where they feel like home.
Yeah. What surprised you about Halifax when you were doing your research, you know, Googling pictures? I'm sure all the pictures were like beautiful sunny days and lighthouses and fish jumping out of water or whatever. I mean, but what surprised you, I guess, about being here compared to where you grew up?
Yeah. Actually, lots of things. I feel like I was surprised every day for like the first few weeks, but it was the feeling of freedom, I would say. And I think I mentioned this before, but it was when I had the ability to walk outside university, to go grocery shopping or to go, you know, get some gifts or go shopping by myself. That was like mind blown, you know, like it was back home. You can't even go one street or one block without being in your car, and your car's tinted, and no one should know who you are, what and why you're driving by yourself. So like me walking by myself here to this podcast, or having the ability to go by myself and do things, it's a freedom. It does.
So what was it about where you grew up? I mean, what was it, a dangerous city? And
so San Pedro Sula, where I'm from in Honduras, it's the second largest city, second most dangerous city in the world. And there's a big crime rate, you know, and it's not that you're going to go and walk and then someone's going to get shot in front of you. No, you just have to be very careful on how you go about your day-by-day life and how it's born and raised. And it's normal for us, you know, but when people tell you, or when you tell people how you go about your life at home, they're like, wow. Yeah. And I'm like, well, it's normal for us. But back home, you know, you go out your car, all cars are tinted. Sometimes they're bulletproof. Depends on the status, but all the cars are tinted because it's if they see a woman like me, a young woman driving by themselves, it's easier for a kidnapper or someone you know, like a thief to stop you in the middle and then just like rob you because they know you're by yourself. Yeah. So no one should know basically that you're driving by yourself, like a vulnerable woman. It's how they see it. And another example is like when you go places like grocery shopping or to the pharmacy, you have to park near the entrance because in every entrance there's a security guard. Okay. So that you're closer to the entrance, because if you park further away in the parking lot, no one can see you if something happens. My goodness. Oh yeah, it's way different how you live. Yeah.
So what did your mom think, especially, you know, coming from that sort of environment to here? I mean, did your parents assume that Halifax was dangerous as well?
No, well, you know, Canada has a good reputation.
Okay, good. Phew.
Yeah, Canada has a good reputation, and it's I don't think we knew much about Halifax and Nova Scotia. You know what I mean? And I think there is crime here, and there might be a little bit more crime than the rest of Canada, as you probably see in the news, but it's still very, very low compared to where I come from. And they know I was raised with that environment. They know how I always check my surroundings. I know what's best to do and not to do. So they knew I was like, you were born and raised in like this country. You're set. Yeah. You know where you should be and you shouldn't be.
Yeah, you're basically Liam Neeson. Oh yeah. Yeah, you've got the skills. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my friends tell me actually. It's like walking with Mary at night, it's interesting. She's always knows what's gonna happen or where you should not walk.
Yes. That's why people are trying to be your friend all the time.
They're like, let's walk with me. I'm like, we're not walking at night, we're driving.
So obviously family, you know, going back to your family and the importance of family and their support. I mean, you know, you had a pretty horrible experience with your father contracting COVID. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how that affected you? Because you were in Halifax when that was happening, right?
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. And I think when parents, and I feel some international and immigrants kind of relate to this, when you have your family at home, they don't want to tell you anything of the bad news because they know you're away and they know how you feel. And all my friends and even my partner feels that way because they're like, you're so anxious that they don't want to tell you because they feel like you're going to be, hurt, but we want to know. And during COVID, it was, COVID started May 2020, and then I was supposed to graduate in May 2020, but I pushed my graduation to September 2021. 20, I was like, COVID's gonna go away.
Right,
I'll be able to
yeah.
cross the stage. But obviously, we couldn't. So during September, it was actually a few days before my virtual graduation. My dad contracted COVID, as many other dads around the world and as many other parents. And it was, at the beginning, we were like, oh, like looking for symptoms. But then he ended up in the ICU for a few days. And they told him and they told us he's going to die. He can die. And he said, he told me his story right now. I was home actually a few days ago, and he told me the story day by day and his thoughts. And it's just so scary to think about. Like, what would have happened? God forbid. But what would have happened if he would have gone? You can't leave the country. You mean, and many students, many immigrants pass through that. You mean, like, they lost loved ones, and you can't leave you can't go be with your family. And if I continue speaking, I'll tear up. But it shows the strength that immigrants have in this country, and like what we have to go through sometimes. And it just impresses me how, and then what we have to go through apart from our daily lives here. But it's family. I think it's very important, and I think having that flexibility, do you know what I mean, for immigrants when you work here to go home and to go visit, it's so important, do you know what I mean, and having the support from government, support from different organizations where people work, to be able to have that, like flexibility to go home, it's so important. And I know, like, at National, I'm very grateful for that, that they give me that support.
Back to that resilience too of having to be here and know what's going on.
Oh yeah, it takes a whole other strength. You know what I mean? Like, you need to have your daily strength to go to work, to do everything you want to do, but you also have to have that internal, strength to know that your heart is at home and your family's at home, and deal with that and other issues.
How's your dad doing now?
Oh, he's a rock star. Like, he runs every day. He plays tennis. He always said, like, you have to be healthy. It's like health is what, like, kind of get me going, like you work out and eat healthy. But he actually said that what saved him was junk food. Because basically, so he was at the hospital, and it was one of the days that it was just like they didn't know if he was going to pass through another night or not. And that night he called his best friend, and he's like, I need you to send me, like, pescado frito back home, which is like fried fish, and like, and plantains. So he's like, you need to send me this to the hospital now. And then his friend's like, well, if that's his death wish, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, how do we make this happen? Because hospitals with COVID, they were very, like, nothing can come in, like, contaminated, you mean, like, and the doctors tell him, if you contaminate something else from the outside world, like that can be it. And he's like, no, like, I can't deal with another hospital food again. Like, this is what's killing me. So they made it happen. They brought him, like, this big food of junk food, like, wrapped, and, like, like, they put some, I don't know, like, spray, and then and then he ate it, and then he said, that night, I felt I was alive. And after that day, he started feeling better.
Oh my gosh.
So eat junk food.
Eat junk food. Lifts your spirits.
Eat what your heart desires.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he's doing better. And I always tell people, like, at least once a month you should indulge in some junk food, really, just for gut health.
Once a month?
Really?
Like, once a week. Just, it's a balance.
So as an international student, what do you think can be done to encourage more international students to study in Atlantic Canada and not only study here, but stay here?
Yeah. Well, I know it's been hard in the last years. We've, and government's seen this numbers, and we've seen this numbers that people are coming to study here, but they're leaving. Like, they're leaving to other provinces, and they're leaving to help. There's many factors for that. I will tell international students, like, I vouch for Nova Scotia always. Like, it's the place to study for sure. You mean, and it's, you have so many universities, so many opportunities, you know what I mean, like, even the professional world out there, you mean, like, you can resonate people from your own backgrounds. Like, the immigration here is very high, and it's great. I would say them to, like, I would encourage them to stay as well. Like, there's, right now, as we all know, Halifax is the second largest, like, growing city in Canada. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's growing so much. Like, since 2015, it's, like, amazing how it has changed. Like, the skyline, it's grown bigger, and, like, the new businesses coming here. There's new non-for-profits, new organizations, new tech industries just coming and having their home base here because they have so many opportunities. But I think I think international students want to stay here, but it's like the opportunities sometimes are not there. But they're growing, and we're seeing a change now, and I think it's going to happen. But international students, sometimes they have to leave to Toronto or to Montreal or to Vancouver because there are more opportunities there, and it's a whole process for you to, after you graduate, and if you want to get your permanent residency, you need to work in a field of your study. Do you know what I mean? So it's I think it goes both ways. There needs to be opportunities in Halifax for international students to stay in, and for people to open the door for international students.
So it's more about job opportunities and less about feeling welcome, would you say?
I do. So I think we are very good at international students feeling welcome. I think they do feel welcome. I think Halifax, Nova Scotia is really good for that. You mean the government, the organizations, the schools, but it's like how they don't start feeling welcome, it's when they don't see any opportunities for them here in the future, or they have closing doors. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard. I understand, like, we're going through, do you know what I mean, like, post pandemic, do you know what I mean? A lot of jobs were lost. A lot of people are looking for jobs. So it's not only Halifax, I would say, but I think we're going there. I think the momentum's there right now.
Yeah. And I was reading recently, too, that Dalhousie University in Halifax, they're proposing a tuition hike for international students, looking to study 16%. Raising it by 16% more, and that would happen in potentially 2023. I mean, just knowing that, I mean, do you think that international students will think twice about studying here? Would you?
Oh, yeah. It's crazy because, and everyone knows I'm passionate about tuition fees and international students and how I feel about universities. And I speak openly about it. But it's since I started in 2015, so when I ended 2020, I started paying for a class, and this is just rough numbers and estimate, but let's say I started paying for a class $1,000. I ended up paying for a class $600. Like, it went up, so the thing is, like, I understand, completely where universities come from, that we need to hike international students' tuition. But you should also hike domestic students' tuition. Do you mean, like, there should be kind of like, but then government kind of like protects international domestic students. So it's kind of like a gray area down there, but I feel universities have to be really, have to lay out the budget. And I know international students' tuition, it's a large percentage of all universities, not just Dalhousie, of all universities' budget. And that's how they sustain themselves sometimes. So I always vouch for kind of like predictable tuition is how I call it. And it's saying, like, when international students start their first year, they know what they're paying. And that's what they should be paying for their 4 or 5 years. So like, if they want to hike 15%, that's bad. But they shouldn't hike it for students that are already in their second, third year, because that prevents students from actually finishing their studies. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just like, I had budgeted this for the next 2 years, so now I have to go home and don't finish my studies because I don't know how to pay for university.
Yeah.
International students that are coming from outside of the country, they know they're going to be paying for this, so they kind of budgeted for that, and they know if this university is suited for them or not. But that should be the same price they should be paying for the next years. So I am all support about not raising tuition fees to students who are already started their studies internationally, because that just creates more barriers for them, and you're just like sending them back, or getting them in big debt and just flooding them. But it's and then just sometimes they can't finish their studies. So don't support increasing tuition when they're in school, but I think there should be a system of like how they can do predictable tuition for all students coming.
Or some kind of price freeze too. And then there's the fact that an international student can't work more than 20 hours a week, and now that was changed. Also recent news that's changing for temporary, a couple years or a year. Because that is the struggle of, everyone's dealing with inflation and struggling to buy groceries and pay rent and all that. Yeah. But then you put yourself in the shoes of an international student, and not only is your tuition potentially going to go up, but you can't work enough hours to pay it off. And then if you could work more than 20 hours, you're a full-time student. You can't have a full-time job. It's
crazy.
Discouraging, I guess.
It's discouraging for sure. Like, I think people should have the flexibility to work full-time if they want to work full-time. You mean, like, I know a lot of domestic students that work full-time and then went to school full-time. What happens is that international students can't work, like can study part-time. So when you come with a study visa, you have to be full-time in university. So that's kind of like what happens. So it's just harder for them because they have to be full-time. You have to take 3 courses every semester, and you also have to work full-time. So it's, a lot of barriers, more barriers for international students for sure that we still have to work through.
I know. And then, like you said, going into further debt too that's a burden for everyone, but I could not imagine that extra stress of,
and they're not
now
eligible, right, for a lot of the financial support from federal government because international students are like they're not eligible for student loans, for example, or stuff like that. So that's, I can keep talking through this, but it's, but it's something that I know it's gonna hopefully change and we're gonna work on.
Yeah, and to add that too, that mental health I know is important to you, and I know that would be an added struggle. If you are an international student, you've got maybe potential debt, you can't work, you're maybe feeling a little lonely, and that's going to cause some mental health implications. But I know that's important for you, especially how it affects the younger community, and especially during COVID, the COVID-19 pandemic. So, and we just talked about your father and what that did for you. And I mean, how did the pandemic affect you?
Oh, I think it affected everyone in different ways, to be honest. But I do feel there's good things that came out of the pandemic, but there's more bad things that came out of the pandemic for sure. But I think, like, and you saw it here in Nova Scotia, we're stronger together. And you saw it across the world. Like, people started to check on each other, do you know what I mean? Like, more than we did before. I think the pandemic, like, it had a lot of mental health repercussions, especially on young people. Like, for example, a lot of students were not able to have their high school graduation, do you mean, or celebrate that years. Like, that's so important in someone's, move or career move. Like, when you're in high school, like, it's like your last years as a teen. You mean you're going to start adulthood? You know what I mean? The rite of passage, and then you would, like, you're home for 2 years. You lost connections with family. You mean, like, people started to get more introvert. You know what I mean? Like I think it has way different implications to young persons than newer. So it's how do we bring it back? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do we help them transition out of that phase? I would say, like, there's a lot of young students and then a lot of young people out there that it's just like they're still struggling to go out there in society, do you know what I mean? Or kids, like, they're like, what's normal anymore? And then I think it's supporting them, do you know what I mean, and meeting people where they are at this point stage in life, and it's understanding that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs for everyone, do you know what I mean? And there's going to be a lot of struggles. But I do think that there's a lot of empathy that came out of the pandemic. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are understanding more of each other. A lot of people are like, if you want to go home, if you want to take a half day off, that's okay. And we're seeing it across a lot of organizations, and like, the flexibility of working from home, it's also great. Like, not everyone has to go to the office full time, which is like, sometimes you feel like I'm more productive at home. And
sometimes.
It's okay.
Sometimes you have to do laundry.
Sometimes you just have to stay in your pajamas. Like, it's okay.
It's good for my mental health.
It is. It is.
Would you want to talk a little bit about your work with the YMCA?
Yeah. So I recently joined, well, not recently, it's been 1.5 years since I joined the board for the YMCA of Greater Halifax and Dartmouth, and it's just been an amazing journey. And I became the chair of their very first youth advisory committee, and that mental health is actually a big topic for that committee and the youth, you know what I mean, and how can we further support youth, because the YMCA, it's not just that building you see here downtown, do you know what I mean? It has many services. It has immigration services, has the community Y, which is doing such an incredible job. Do you mean it has Big Cove Camp, and it has employment services, so it just goes way beyond than just
a gym.
Yeah. And it was kind of like a learning for me. I mean, seeing all these supports that the YMCA does. And then we started this youth advisory committee with the purpose of supporting further the youth, I mean, and voicing youth concerns to the board, but also seeing what we can, like, what changes we can make, basically. So conversations happen throughout the first year for the Youth Advisory Committee, but this year we actually, now that COVID has kind of like gone a little bit and there's not much restrictions, we're this group, which is like 10 youth from different ages. So we have people from high school to still in university to postgraduate. So like that youth combination going to the different services. So some people go to community-wide, the employment center, and hearing about like actual youth in the community, and then bringing those forward and seeing like what needs to change. You know, a gap that we saw was mental health. Like there's not much mental health services out there for youth. You mean it? Mental health services doesn't have to be kind of like a platform that you do some quizzes, but it's also like, you mean like safe spaces across the city, that not just going exercises, but sometimes you just want to go and meet new people. Sometimes you just want to go have a movie night. So it's creating those safe spaces across the YMCA. I think it's very important right now for the youth.
Yeah, and like we were talking about before, COVID pandemic, and especially if you're in high school or junior high or even a university student, I imagine it would have been pretty lonely. You know, you're going through this rite of passage, this big stage in your life, and you can't have those experiences like someone did 4 years before, or you have that disconnect maybe a little bit.
And that's so important. You mean like you were stuck at home basically, and sometimes home, it's not the best place to be for a lot of people. So we have to consider that as well, and seeing like where can we create those safe spaces if home is not a safe space.
What advice would you give someone who is thinking about moving to Atlantic Canada, whether to be an international student or just someone who's looking to, you know, move from a different country?
I would say Atlantic Canada, it's a hidden gem for sure. I don't think many people across the world know about Atlantic Canada until you have to move out of your country. I think Atlantic Canada welcomes so many immigrants, do you know what I mean? That they're trying to find a new home, a new journey. But I feel like if you're trying to find a new career or a new move or a change, and wherever you are around the world, like this is the place. It's just so welcoming, and it just like it meets you kind of where you are. You can start, you know, like very low in your career, or you can start very high in your career. I think this is the perfect place for people to see, like, I mean, even if you're 10 years in your career and you want to become someone big, Peace by Chocolate, perfect example. I mean, great immigration story. But then we also have so many immigrants that are just starting their career and they're making big moves here. So I'd say like this is the place to be, and don't be scared. Do you mean like that it's Canada,
that it's igloos and penguins.
Don't be scared. It's gonna be fine, you know, like, and like there's gonna be ups and downs everywhere you go, but it's not that bad. We don't have Calgary weather. Like, we're not minus 20. We're wind will kill you, but it's the summer will make up for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A very short summer.
A little bit longer.
What's next for you?
It's so many things I have in mind, but currently in National Public Relations. I help my partner start a new business, Nova Glamping, but I also, first here YMCA, continuing with them in the youth work, but I always wanted to start a charity that will help youth here in Nova Scotia, but also youth in Honduras. So trying to figure that out and how that's going to look like, but hopefully that's coming up in the future, and passion project of mine, and who knows. A coffee shop was always a dream of mine as well. Honduran coffee shop.
You're all over the place.
So there's a lot of things happening in my mind, and who knows?
But isn't that the beauty of
Halifax.
Opportunities, right?
Exactly. Like I can make things happen. I mean, I can actually start a coffee shop here, and I can actually there's no barriers as an immigrant for me to be able to say, no, I can't do this.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mary, and thank you to everyone joining us today for this episode of Our Guest Is. If you don't want to miss the next episode, make sure you subscribe. You can find us on myeastcoastexperience.com, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, and YouTube. Plus, don't forget you can follow My East Coast Experience on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thanks again, and hope you join us for our next episode.